My friends, sometimes you just cannot win when it comes to making content. There were a lot of requests for this video that was the most annoying frequencies that I hear. And a lot of people were big fans of it. And a lot of people complained about it saying, hey, like this is misleading information because these exact frequencies aren't problems in every mix. And to that I say, duh. Like every song is different, right? Like we don't expect for every single thing to be down to the exact hertz whenever we're explaining anything regarding EQ. It's more about showing common problem areas, you know, things that are repeat offenders. And I'm a glutton for punishment here, so not only did I do that video, but I'm doing a follow-up video, which is basically about the 5 biggest frequency areas that you'll have problems with when it comes to your guitar tone. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and as a singer that plays guitar, I'm a little bit more singer tips than fingertips. That's really good. I should probably use that for something. Anyways, what I'm saying is that luckily I can mix guitar a lot better than I can play it. You know, being under Joey's wing really helped me understand what goes into making a great guitar tone and bringing it into the next level. So that's what we're gonna be focusing on in this video. One thing I really don't wanna waste one of my topics on this time is high passing and low passing. High pass your guitars anywhere from 80 to 100 hertz and low pass them anywhere from 10 to 12K whenever you're dealing with heavy music. Let's move on. So frequency number 1, 2,437.5 hertz. So whenever I focus on 2,437.5 hertz, I like to grab a narrow band and sweep. I hope you guys realize that I'm joking. That's what I'm talking about. Like people focusing so much on the minute little details. Well, we're not gonna focus on a specific frequency. We're going to go to that frequency range. And the range that we're gonna focus on this time is 2,500 hertz. Now, one thing I want to say about this frequency is a lot of the meat of your guitar tone is going to be inside this frequency area. And because a lot of it lives in that area, what that means is depending on the type of distortion that you're using, it can be extremely harsh. It's also a point where you're going to clash with a lot of other instruments, you know? The positive to this is when you need more presence in a song, this is a very quick area to reach for to make your guitar sound more present. But back to that whole clashing thing. It could be clashing with cymbals or keys, and this is a recipe for ear fatigue. Speaking of keys and synths, we actually have a sample pack including those dropping really soon. So just head over to Joey Sturgis Tone's Instagram so you can kind of get the lowdown on what we're gonna be releasing. I promise it's something you wanna keep your ears glued to. Anyways, we're gonna try not to cut too much in this area, even though sometimes it causes problems. It's one that we have to pay attention to because we wanna keep our other instruments breathing and in their own space. So let's take a listen to what it sounds like and take care of the issue. Now that you know what that area sounds like, it's a bit easier to watch out for when you're dialing in your distorted guitars. Now, this isn't something that I see happening a lot on acoustic guitars, but just to be safe, it's something that you might want to check anyways, because all it takes is a tiny little dip, you know? You don't have to go wild with this one. And for everyone that's gonna be breathing down my neck, yes, I said 2,500 hertz. It might be 2,200 hertz. It might be 2,700. It's in that area. It's somewhere around that area. Now we're going to get into frequency area number 2. And that is ringing frequency harmonics. This is gonna take a second to explain, but bear with me. Have you ever done like a surgical EQ cut and felt like it was creating more ringing frequencies than the one that you started out with? Well, there's actually a scientific explanation for that. When we're using distortion on a guitar tone, we're typically using one of 2 types of distortion, and that's tube distortion or solid state distortion. Tube distortion has even order harmonics and solid state distortion has odd order harmonics. Are you with me so far? Okay, cool. Now we're gonna find a ringing frequency in a distorted guitar tone. second I'm made aware of that ringing, it's something that I literally just need to press out of existence. But there's another ringing that should make you aware of something, and that's ringing the notification bell, hitting that sub button, get our numbers going, and of course giving it a like if you're enjoying that content that we're putting out regularly. My transition game is still crazy. Now let's get back to harmonics. One would think you can always just cut the ringing frequency, and that's it. But distortion creates an entirely different problem area because the harmonics of that frequency are going to become more noticeable as you cut the first one. Here's an example, not to get all scientific with it, even though it is science, but if you had a ringing frequency at 700 hertz and you're using tube distortion, the more you cut 700 hertz, the more you're going to be made aware of the multiples of that. So you're going to do 700 hertz, then it's going to be 1400 hertz, then it's going to be 2800 hertz. So you pull it down and now your ears are going to perceive the other ones a little bit more. And the harder you notch it, the more obvious that the first multiple is gonna occur. So it actually kind of lowers itself as it goes down with these harmonics. Like 700 will be the loudest, then it dips down for 14 and it gets lower for 28 and so on and so on. What this means is that sometimes we need to cut the multiple as well as find a good balance to our notching. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to tube distortion. See what I'm talking about? And if it wasn't tube distortion and it was solid state distortion, we would be dealing with odd order harmonic multiples. So if the ringing was at 700, the next place we'll be checking for it would be at 2100 and so on. I know this one is a little confusing, but you can be causing more than just phase issues when you're doing notches. Practice this one a little bit because it's gonna be unique every time depending on the key, the type of amp that you're using. But let's get into one of the most annoying ringing frequencies of all. Frequency number 3, and I obviously have to talk about this one, right? But there's a reason I have to, and it kind of relates to the topic that we just had a second ago. We're talking about 4000 hertz. And I know it's annoying to bring it up again, but don't kill the messenger. There's some people watching this that have no idea what I'm talking about. So everything from 3.2 to 4K has the potential to be kind of ear piercing simply based on the fact that our ears are designed to be sensitive to these areas. In general, our hearing is aimed to be most sensitive at 2.5 to 5K, but on guitar, it's smack dab in the middle of that. And that would technically just make it more annoying than almost any other frequency, right? So let's take a listen to the sound I'm talking about just so that you know in the future. Now we're gonna take it and we're gonna find a good spot to dip it down. With this one, I tend not to be ashamed with how I dip it because I really want to eradicate it from existence. And I'm not shy with it. It's always a surgical cut when I do this, unlike the other example I was talking about. And sometimes I'll dip it down 12 dB, even 18 if I really gotta go that far. And you heard the example a second ago. Once you hear it, you just can't unhear it. And it's something that can frustrate you through a song. So annoying by design or not, my ears just simply can't deal with it. If you didn't know before, now you know. It's extremely shrill. It's not to be confused with presence. And when you find the ringing frequency, it doesn't have a lot of qualities that make it useful. Once again, we're not trying to do wide cuts when it comes to this. Too much information lives in this area, and we only want to remove the ringing section. But let's get on to our next point, frequency number 4, 200 to 400 hertz. The mud. When you're dealing with palm mute buildup, right, or you feel like there's too much low end going on, this is almost always a problem that we'll have in our guitar tones. You're gonna wanna grab a pretty wide band here and start sweeping around. It's not gonna be a surgical cut. to be honest with you. And you're gonna find the muddiest spot and know when you hear it, you know? I like to start at 300 hertz and then slowly start pulling to the right. And then, but sometimes it can go all the way down to 200 hertz. You really just wanna move around in that area until you feel like, oh, I've cleaned up all that low end and my track is starting to breathe now. And when you do that, it's pretty much gonna sound like this. And that one's not really difficult to pinpoint, right? Not like the other ones. And once you figure it out, you can guaranteed level up your guitar tone, because that is one frequency that I have heard ruin thousands of mixes. On to the fifth and possibly most important frequency area of the entire video. Frequency area number 5, every frequency area. By now in this video, you should realize that any and all of these frequencies can be a problem area, depending on the other instruments that are in the song. It's possible that anything can be an area that clashes with another one, and that's a point I wanted to make sure to get out. For example, 200 hertz might not be a problem until there's a song that has blast beats, right? And the snare is now eating up 200 hertz because you boosted it. Now the guitar and snare are fighting for the same space, but you wouldn't have had this problem in a part of the track that this wasn't happening. And that's less common than the problems you would likely have when dealing with mid-range instruments. Cymbals, vocals, and other guitars are always going to be your worst enemy when it comes to frequency problem areas and are usually the culprits for masking. So what I want to do is go over all of this one more time. 2500 hertz, ringing frequencies, harmonics, 4K, 200 to 400 hertz, the mud, and basically any frequency area, because anything can be an issue. That's just the reality of audio. And I wanted to make this video because I wanted to clear up some of the things that I might have said in the other one that people didn't understand. Yeah, sometimes things are just starting points, but you still have to do a little work. Anyways, I hope you guys grabbed something useful out of this video, and I hope you gave a bit of a new perspective on how to attack EQ the next time that you're going about it. Guitar tone can be one of the trickiest things to nail in metal, but I'm hoping this gets you one step closer to the perfect mix. Did you learn something new in this video? Are these moves that you typically make anyways? Leave it in the comments below and I will chat with you fine people like I always do. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Till next time, my friends, later.